Hello everyone, I am the storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. I never believed in ghosts. Not until that night in my apartment when Lucky, my German Shepherd, showed me there are things in this world we can't explain. Things that hide in plain sight, waiting. I'm writing this down because I need to make sense of what happened. Maybe someone else will believe me, maybe they won't, but this is exactly how it went down. It was a Tuesday in December. The kind of night where the heating kicks in every 20 minutes and the radiators make those clicking sounds that echo through empty rooms. I was sitting on my couch watching some crime show on Netflix. Lucky lay at my feet, his head on his paws. The clock on my phone showed 10:47 p.m. I remember the exact time because I just checked how many episodes I had left before bedtime. Work started early tomorrow, and I needed at least 6 hours of sleep. That's when I heard it. James. A whisper. So faint I almost missed it under the TV dialogue. My name spoken right behind my left ear. I jerked around. Nothing there. Just my living room wall with its peeling beige paint. Must be tired, I said out loud. The words came out shaky. Lucky's head snapped up. His ears went forward and his body tensed. He stared at the wooden dining chair by my small kitchen table. The chair sat empty, like always. I lived alone. What is it, boy? Lucky got up. A low growl started in his throat. Not his usual someone's at the door growl. This was deeper, continuous. His hackles rose. I grabbed the remote and muted the TV. The apartment fell silent except for Lucky's growling. There's nothing there, I told him. It's just a chair. Lucky disagreed. He positioned himself between me and the chair, his growl getting louder. I'd had him for 5 years, since he was a puppy. He'd never acted like this. I stood up. Lucky pressed against my legs, still growling at the chair. James. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Right from where the chair stood, my mouth went dry. Sweat broke out on my forehead despite the cold. I reached for my phone, hands shaking. Who's there? My voice cracked. Lucky's growl turned into a bark. Sharp, aggressive. He took a step toward the chair, then immediately backed up against my legs. I hit the light switch by the couch. Bright fluorescent light flooded the room. The chair sat there, wooden and ordinary. No one behind it, no one under the table. Just empty space. My heart pounded against my ribs. I could hear blood rushing in my ears. We're getting out of here, I told Lucky. I grabbed my keys from the coffee table. Lucky wouldn't move. He stayed pressed against my legs, his body rigid, eyes fixed on the chair. Come on, boy, let's go. He whined, but wouldn't budge. The whisper came again. James, stay. The voice sounded clearer each time. Female, soft, but wrong somehow. Like someone trying to remember how to speak. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I fumbled with my phone, tried to call my brother Mike. The call wouldn't go through. No signal. I had full bars a minute ago. Lucky's growl deepened. I looked at the chair again. It had moved. Just an inch or two, but I knew that chair's position. I'd sat there this morning eating cereal. It now faced slightly toward us like someone had shifted in it. This isn't happening. I said it out loud, trying to wake myself up, but I wasn't asleep. Lucky barked again, a sound of pure aggression I'd never heard from him before. He snapped his teeth at the air. The temperature dropped. I could see my breath forming clouds in front of my face. The fluorescent light flickered once, twice. No. I backed toward the front door, Lucky moving with me. We're leaving. James. Please. The whisper turned into a sob. Something scraped against the wooden floor. The chair moved again, rotating toward us in tiny increments. My back hit the front door. I grabbed the handle. Locked. I'd locked it earlier, habit after coming home from work. The key shook in my hand as I tried to find the lock. Lucky's barking reached a fever pitch. He lunged forward suddenly, snapping at something I couldn't see. His teeth closed on empty air, but he jerked his head like he'd caught something. A scream filled the apartment. Not a human scream. High-pitched, like radio feedback mixed with the sound of tearing metal. The light bulb exploded, showering the room with glass. I finally got the key in the lock, turned it, yanked the door open. "James, don't." The voice right in my ear now, cold breath on my neck. I ran. Lucky stayed with me, pressed against my leg, nearly tripping me as we burst into the hallway. I slammed the door behind us. We took the stairs, all 5 flights down. I couldn't trust the elevator, couldn't stand in that small space. Not now. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, stuck her head out as we thundered past her floor. "James, everything okay?" I didn't answer, couldn't stop. Lucky and I hit the lobby at full speed and burst out onto the street. The cold December air hit my face. I wore only a t-shirt and sweatpants, but I couldn't feel the cold. My heart still raced. Lucky stayed pressed against my leg, facing backward, watching the building entrance. I pulled out my phone. Signal back. Called Mike. "Hey, what's up?" He sounded half asleep. "Can I crash at your place tonight?" "What? It's almost 11. Please, I'll explain when I get there." A pause. "You okay? You sound weird. I need to not be in my apartment right now." Another pause. "Yeah, okay, come over." "Thanks. Be there in 20. I looked down at Lucky. He stared up at me, then back at the building, still alerting to something I couldn't see. "Good boy," I told him. My voice shook. "Good boy." We walked to Mike's place. Lucky wouldn't leave my side. Every few steps, he'd look behind us, growling softly. I never went back to that apartment at night. Came back the next day with Mike to pack my essential stuff. Lucky refused to enter, stood in the hallway growling at the door. The chair sat exactly where it belonged, like it had never moved. But the light bulb was still shattered, and when I looked closer, I saw scratches on the wooden floor. Deep ones, like something had dragged across it with force. I broke my lease, paid the penalty, moved in with Mike until I found a new place. Lucky slept pressed against me every night for months. He still does, actually. And sometimes when it's late and quiet, he'll stare at empty chairs and growl. I've learned to trust him when he does that. We leave whatever room we're in immediately, because now I know. There are things in this world that hide in plain sight. Things that know your name. Things that try to make you stay. Lucky saved me that night. If he hadn't been there, if he hadn't sensed it first, I don't like to think about what might have happened. I live in a new apartment now. 3rd floor, different part of town. Got rid of all my old furniture. Lucky has his own bed, but he never uses it. He sleeps next to mine, always alert. Sometimes I wake up at night and hear whispers. Not words anymore, just sounds at the edge of hearing. When that happens, Lucky is already awake, watching the darkness, protecting me. I keep the lights on most nights now. It doesn't help much, but it makes me feel better. The dark spaces between things seem deeper somehow. Chairs, especially empty ones, make me nervous. I've tried researching what happened, looked up the building's history. Nothing unusual. No deaths in my old apartment. No strange accidents. Just a normal building with normal people. But I know what I heard, what I saw, what Lucky saw. The worst part? Last week I got a text from Mrs. Chen. She still lives in the old building. Said she heard someone calling my name in the hallway late at night. Asked if I'd been visiting. I told her no. Told her to keep her doors locked at night. To not answer if she hears my name again. She hasn't responded. Lucky sleeps closer now. He knows something's wrong. Dogs always know. They see what we can't or won't see. They protect us from things we pretend don't exist. I'm writing this from my new couch. Lucky lies at my feet. He just lifted his head, ears forward. staring at the empty chair across the room. I'm going to stop writing now. We need to leave this room. But before I go, let me say this. If you're alone one night and hear your name whispered, pay attention to how your dog reacts. They know things we don't. They see things we can't. And if you don't have a dog, get one. Or better yet, move. Move far away. Because once something learns your name, it doesn't forget. It just waits. Lucky's growling now. Time to go. I didn't want to clean the attic. My wife Karen insisted for months. Last weekend she said she'd leave if I didn't do it. So here I am, sneezing in the dust, sorting through 30 years of junk. The cardboard boxes are falling apart. Everything smells like mold. Dust coats my hands and face. Spiderwebs stick to my skin. The bare light bulb casts harsh shadows on the slanted ceiling. My back hurts from crouching. I've been at it for 3 hours. Most stuff goes straight in the trash bags. Old magazines, broken Christmas decorations, clothes moths got to. Some things I set aside to keep. Not much. The box in the corner is different. Dark wood, brass hinges. I don't remember putting it there. Probably Karen's from before we married. My hands leave prints in the dust when I pick it up. The latch clicks open easily. Inside, wrapped in yellowed tissue paper, sits a music box. Small, maybe 4 inches square. Carved wood, dark with age. The finish is worn off the corners. My throat goes dry. I know this music box. My grandmother gave it to me when I was 8. I lost it when we moved houses in '92. Dad was furious. It was a family heirloom, passed down for generations. My hands shake as I turn it over. The brass key is still there, sticking out from the bottom. The metal is tarnished almost black. I shouldn't wind it. The mechanism's probably rusted. But I have to know if it still works. The key turns with a grinding sound. 1 full turn, 2, 3. The lid springs open. A tiny ballerina used to spin there, but she's gone now. Just the brass post remains. The first notes play, slow and hesitating. Not the tune I remember. This is wrong. The music box played Green Sleeves. I'm sure of it. This melody is different, discordant. The notes drag and catch. My skin prickles. The temperature seems to drop. The bare bulb flickers. The melody continues, gaining strength. The notes are clearer now. They form a pattern I almost recognize. Something ancient, threatening. The music pulls at something in my mind. Memories surface that can't be mine. Stone circles under dark skies. Figures in robes. Chanting in languages that were old when Rome was young. I try to close the lid. It won't shut. The music gets louder. My hands won't move. The melody wraps around my thoughts like cold wire. Footsteps on the attic stairs. Karen's voice. How's it going up there? I need to warn her, to tell her to stay back. My mouth won't work. The trapdoor creaks open. Karen's head appears. Have you made any progress? I brought you some what? She sees my face. The music box. Her eyes go wide. Where did you find that? Her voice shakes. That can't be. The melody reaches a crescendo. Notes that shouldn't exist on a simple music box mechanism. They bore into my brain like ice picks. Karen backs away. No, 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 put it down. Now. I still can't move, can't speak. The music fills every corner of my mind. Karen lunges forward, tries to knock the box from my hands. Her fingers brush the wood. The music stops. Total silence. Even the traffic noise from outside is gone. The light bulb goes out. In the darkness, something moves. A soft scraping sound. The smell of wet earth and decay. Karen's flashlight beam cuts through the dark, lands on the music box in my hands. The brass post where the ballerina used to be is moving, twitching, growing. Dark fluid leaks from the mechanism. Thick drops fall onto my hands. They burn like acid. I still can't let go. The thing emerging from the music box doesn't look like a ballerina anymore. Long, jointed limbs unfold from the tiny space. How much of it is in there? How can it keep coming? Karen screams. The flashlight beam jumps wildly, shows glimpses of something impossible, something that hurts my eyes to look at. I feel movement under the skin of my hands where the fluid touched, spreading up my arms, burrowing in. Karen runs for the trapdoor. Her foot catches on a box. She falls. The flashlight spins away into the darkness. The thing from the music box is fully emerged now. It fills most of the attic space. Segments and angles that don't make sense. That shouldn't be able to exist in our reality. It moves toward Karen. She scrambles backward, crying, hits the wall. I fight against whatever holds me frozen. My muscles strain. Blood vessels burst in my eyes from the effort. The paralysis breaks. I lunge forward, music box still clutched in my burning hands. Karen, the trapdoor, go! She doesn't hesitate. Rolls, scrambles down the ladder. I hear her footsteps pounding down the stairs. The thing turns its attention to me. Impossible geometries shift and flow. My mind reels trying to process what I'm seeing. There's only one thing I can think to do. I slam the music box shut. The thing screams. The sound makes my ears bleed. It pulls back into the box like water down a drain, folding and compressing. The lid clicks closed. The key stops turning. I stand in the dark, shaking. Blood drips from my nose, my ears. My hands are covered in blisters where the fluid touched them. Karen's voice from downstairs. John, are you okay? Stay down there. My voice is hoarse. Don't come up. I have to end this, have to destroy it before it can open again. The old coal furnace still sits in the corner of the attic. It hasn't been used in decades, but the firebox is intact. My hands shake as I open the rusted door. Spiderwebs and dust inside. I put the music box in, close the door, find the matches we keep for emergency candles. The first match breaks. The second lights. I feed papers and cardboard through the grate until the fire catches. The heat builds quickly. Too quickly. The metal glows red. Inside the furnace, something screams. Not the inhuman sound from before. This is worse. A child's voice. My voice from decades ago. Begging, pleading. Please don't, I'll be good, I promise. Don't burn me. I press my hands against my ears. Not real. Not real. Other voices join in. My grandmother, my father, Karen, all screaming in agony. The furnace rocks violently. The door strains against the latch. Something pushes from inside. Black smoke pours from every seam. It stinks of burning meat and something older. Something rotting. The voices reach an impossible pitch. The furnace glows white-hot. Then silence. The glow fades. I wait an hour before opening the door. Inside, ash and twisted metal. No trace of wood or brass. My hands still burn. Looking at them under the flashlight, I see thin, dark lines under the skin, like roots growing, spreading. Karen won't come back upstairs. We seal off the attic. Tell ourselves we'll deal with the rest of the cleaning another time. But my hands keep changing. The lines spread further every day, and at night I hear it. Very faint, at the edge of hearing, that melody, that impossible ancient melody. It's inside me now, growing, waiting. Sometimes I catch Karen watching me. She sees the changes, the way my joints move differently now, the angles of my shadow that aren't quite right. Soon the music will be strong enough, the changes complete enough. And then I hear the melody now, getting louder. My fingers twitch in time with notes only I can hear. It won't be long. They found this account on John Marshall's laptop. He and his wife Karen disappeared 3 weeks ago. The attic of their home was destroyed by a fire of unknown origin. Investigators found no trace of a music box or antique furnace. The entire space had been empty for years, according to neighbors. The only evidence was a series of strange marks on the attic floor. Curved lines and symbols burned into the wood. Analysis suggests they form some kind of musical notation. but no expert can identify the style or period, and no one who has tried to transcribe or play the melody has been seen since. I hate being alone in this house. Sarah travels 3 nights a week for work. Tuesday nights are the worst. The house feels different without her, bigger, emptier. That Tuesday in October started like any other. I worked late at the office, debugging code until my eyes burned. The kitchen clock read 11:47 p.m. when I got home. Sarah's flight to Chicago had left 6 hours earlier. I microwaved leftover pizza and ate it standing at the counter, scrolling through emails on my phone. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I needed sleep. My eyes felt like sandpaper. I rinsed my plate, turned off the kitchen lights, and headed upstairs. The second floor was dark. We never leave lights on up there. Sarah's thing about saving electricity. The hallway stretched ahead of me, a tunnel of shadows broken only by thin strips of moonlight from the windows. Our bedroom is at the end of the hall. The guest room sits halfway down on the right, across from the bathroom. I was almost to our room when movement caught my eye. A shadow crossed the hallway, sliding into the guest room doorway. "Sarah?" I called out. "I thought you were in Chicago." "What?" Her voice came from downstairs, from the direction of the living room. My stomach dropped. The air felt 20 degrees colder. I froze mid-step, 1 foot hovering above the carpet. "Honey?" Sarah's voice again, definitely from downstairs. "Is everything okay up there?" I couldn't move. My muscles locked up. The shadow I'd seen was person-sized, human-shaped. It had moved with purpose, like it knew where it was going, like it belonged here. But Sarah was downstairs. "Mark?" she called again. Footsteps on the stairs now. "Why are you home so late?" That broke my paralysis. I spun around. "Stay downstairs." The words came out as a hoarse whisper. The footsteps stopped. "What's wrong?" "Call the police." My voice shook. "Someone's in the guest room." Silence. Then, "I'm calling them now." I stood rooted to the spot, staring at the guest room doorway. The door was open about 6 inches, only darkness visible inside. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. What were my options? I could run downstairs, but that would mean turning my back on whatever was in there. I could try to trap it in the room by closing the door, but I'd have to get closer. Or I could stand here like a statue until the police arrived. A soft scraping sound came from the guest room, like shoes on carpet, moving closer to the door. I backed away, 1 silent step at a time. My hand brushed the wall. The light switch. I flicked it on. The hallway blazed with light. The guest room remained dark. Its switch was inside the doorway. But now I could see better. The door had opened wider. Maybe 8 inches now. Sarah's voice floated up from downstairs. "They're on their way, 3 minutes." Another scraping sound. Closer. A shadow moved across the slice of darkness visible through the doorway. My back hit the wall at the end of the hallway. I couldn't retreat any further. Sweat ran down my sides despite the cold. I could hear my own breathing, rapid and shallow. The door creaked, opening wider. 10 inches. 12. Police sirens in the distance, but not close enough, not nearly close enough. A hand appeared in the gap. Long, pale fingers curled around the edge of the door. The skin was gray-white, like something that had never seen sunlight. The fingernails were yellow and curved. I watched, unable to look away, as the hand began to push the door open. The hinges squealed softly. The sirens grew louder, maybe a block away now. But the hand kept pushing. The gap widened to reveal an arm. Skeletal thin, covered in that same corpse-pale skin. A face appeared in the darkness, or something like a face. The features were wrong somehow, too sharp, too angular. The eyes reflected the hallway light like an animal's. The sirens screamed outside our house now. Red and blue lights strobed through the windows, painting the walls in alternating colors. The thing in the doorway hesitated. Heavy boots pounded up our front steps, Sarah's voice directing them inside. "Upstairs." "He's upstairs." The face withdrew. The hand slipped away from the door. In the strobing police lights, I caught a glimpse of something tall and thin moving back into the darkness of the guest room. "Police! Coming up!" A shout from the stairs. Flashlight beams swept the hallway. 2 officers charged up, weapons drawn. One grabbed my arm and pulled me back while the other covered the guest room door. "In there," I managed to say. My voice sounded far away. They cleared the room methodically, flashlights cutting through the darkness. I watched from the top of the stairs, Sarah's arm around my waist, holding me up. My legs had turned to water. "Clear!" one officer called out. The other hit the light switch. The guest room looked exactly as it always did. Neat twin bed with blue comforter, small desk in the corner, closet door closed, window locked from the inside. No sign anyone or anything had been there. They searched the entire second floor, checked the windows, the closets, the crawlspace access in the ceiling. Nothing. I told them what I'd seen. They took notes, exchanged glances, searched again. Still nothing. "No signs of forced entry," one officer said. "All windows secure, no footprints or disturbances in the dust." Could have sworn. I trailed off. The adrenaline was fading, leaving me shaky and drained. They did another sweep of the house, checked outside. Found nothing out of place. Left us their card and told us to call if anything else happened. Sarah made me coffee. We sat at the kitchen table while I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, holding my hand. "I saw something," I insisted. "In the doorway. A hand. A face." "I believe you saw something," she said carefully. "But maybe not what you thought you saw. You were tired, working late. Shadows can play tricks." I wanted to believe her. Wanted to blame it on exhaustion and an overactive imagination. But I knew what I'd seen. The way those fingers had curled around the door. The wrongness of that face in the darkness. We slept downstairs that night on the living room couch. Sarah called in sick the next day to stay with me. We had the locks changed, installed security cameras, added motion sensor lights. Nothing else happened that week, or the next. Life started to feel normal again. Almost. But sometimes, late at night, I hear soft scraping sounds from upstairs, like shoes on carpet. And when Sarah's away, I swear I can feel eyes watching me from the darkness at the end of the hall. I keep telling myself it was nothing. Just shadows and tired eyes and an imagination working overtime. But I know what I saw that night. And I know it's still here, waiting in the dark spaces of our home. Last night, Sarah left for another business trip. As I lay in bed trying to sleep, I heard it again. That soft scraping sound from the guest room. I didn't look, didn't move. Just lay there in the dark, listening to it move closer. Waiting to see if tonight would be the night it finally showed itself again. The sound stopped outside my door. Minutes passed. An hour. Eventually, I fell into an uneasy sleep. This morning, there were marks on the carpet in the hallway. Long, parallel lines, like something had been dragged across it. They led from the guest room to my bedroom door. I haven't told Sarah, haven't called the police. What would I say? What could they do? So I wait and watch and listen to the sounds in the darkness. Tonight is Tuesday. Sarah's away again. As I write this, I can hear something moving in the guest room, scraping across the carpet, getting closer. I should run, should get out of this house and never come back. But I need to know. Need to see it clearly this time. Need to understand what's been living in our home all these months. The scrapings at my door now. The handle is turning, slow and deliberate. I'm going to look this time, going to face it. Maybe then the waiting will finally be over. The door is opening. I can see its hand. I never used to believe in the things that go bump in the night. That changed 3 weeks ago. I keep replaying it in my head, trying to make sense of what happened. Maybe writing it down will help, though I doubt it. I know what I saw, what Rex saw. The marks are still there in my floor. It started as a normal Tuesday evening. I was sitting in my living room, half watching some reality show while scrolling through my phone. Rex, my 4-year-old German Shepherd, was sprawled on his bed in the corner, doing what he does best, sleeping. Nothing unusual about any of it. Rex is the most laid-back dog you'll ever meet. In the 3 years since I adopted him from the shelter, I've heard him bark maybe 5 times. Once at a delivery guy who startled him, twice at squirrels, once during a thunderstorm, and once when my smoke detector was going off. That's it. The shelter said he was like that when they got him too, just naturally calm. The wind picked up outside around 8:30 p.m. I remember the time because I just checked my phone, thinking about heading to bed early. The trees started scraping against the windows, that familiar late October sound. The lights flickered once, twice. Then everything went dark. Not a big deal. Power outages happen. I kept scrolling on my phone, using it for light. I figured I'd wait a few minutes before digging out the flashlights. That's when Rex's head shot up. His ears went forward, his body tensed. He stared at the far corner of the room, by the old brick fireplace I never use. I looked over there. Nothing but shadows. "What's up, buddy?" I asked him. He didn't move, didn't look at me, just kept staring at that corner. The hair along his spine started to rise. Then he growled. The sound froze me in place. Rex never growls. Not at other dogs, not at strangers, not at anything. But this wasn't just a growl. It was deep, guttural, primal, the kind of sound that bypasses your brain and goes straight to your nervous system. I aimed my phone's light at the corner. Empty. Just the brick fireplace, the stack of old magazines beside it, the cobwebs I keep meaning to clean. Nothing that would set him off. "Rex, it's okay," I said. My voice came out shakier than I expected. He stood up. His growl got louder. I saw his teeth, all of them. His tail was rigid, his legs stiff. Every muscle in his body seemed to be coiled tight, ready to spring. Then he started barking, not normal barking. This was something else, furious, desperate, terrified barking, like he was fighting for his life. The sound bounced off the walls, filled the whole house. I'd never heard anything like it. I got up, stumbling a little in the dark. "Rex, stop!" He ignored me completely, kept barking at that corner. Backing up, crouching lower. The temperature in the room dropped. I'm not being metaphorical. It literally dropped, like someone had opened a freezer door. I could see my breath in the beam from my phone. Rex's barking turned into something between a roar and a scream. He lunged forward, snapping at the air. Backed up, lunged again, like he was fighting something I couldn't see. I heard scratching, not from Rex, from the corner. A sound like nails on wood, but deeper, harder. The kind of sound that makes your teeth hurt. My phone died. Total darkness. Rex's barking. That scratching sound getting louder. The cold air burning in my lungs. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Just stood there, useless, while my dog fought something in the dark. The scratching got louder. Closer. Rex's barks turned desperate. I heard him snap his jaws, heard him snarl, heard something else. A sound like wet leather being stretched. I should have done something. Should have grabbed Rex, should have run, should have fought whatever it was. Instead, I just stood there paralyzed, listening to my dog fight for both our lives in the dark. The power came back on, just like that. No flickering, no warning. 1 second darkness, the next bright fluorescent light flooding the room. Rex was standing in front of the fireplace, chest heaving, still in a fighting stance. But nothing was there. No intruder, no animal, nothing. I called to him. My voice cracked. "Rex, come here, boy." He didn't move for a long moment. Then slowly, his posture relaxed. He turned to look at me, and his eyes... I've never seen him look like that. Like he'd seen something no dog should ever have to see. He came to me, pressed against my legs. He was shaking. Rex, my fearless shelter dog, was trembling like a puppy in a thunderstorm. That's when I saw the floor. There were marks in the hardwood. Deep gouges like something had dug its claws in and dragged them across the surface. 4 parallel lines, each about 8 inches long. The wood was splintered, torn up. These weren't scratches from Rex's nails. These were deeper, wider. The edges were burnt like whatever made them was hot enough to scorch the wood. I grabbed my keys. Rex didn't need any encouragement. He was already at the door. We spent the night at a motel. The next morning I told myself I'd been tired, imagining things. The power outage had played tricks with my eyes. The scratches were probably old and I'd just never noticed them before. Maybe Rex had heard a mouse in the walls, or a raccoon in the chimney. There had to be a logical explanation. I went back to the house, checked every inch of it in broad daylight. No signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no footprints, nothing in the chimney. The only evidence that anything had happened was those 4 burnt scratches in my floor. I took pictures of them, measured them, compared them to Rex's paw prints. The marks were twice the size of his paws, and much deeper than any dog could make. I looked up local wildlife. Nothing matched. Not bears, not mountain lions, nothing. I bought security cameras, motion sensors, a new deadbolt. I sage smudged the house, even though I don't believe in that stuff, or didn't used to. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Rex wouldn't go near that corner anymore, but otherwise things were normal. The cameras showed nothing. The motion sensors stayed quiet. I started to relax. Started telling myself I'd overreacted. Then last night, the power went out again. Rex started growling before the lights were even out completely. I grabbed him, grabbed my keys, and we were in the car before whatever it was could show up again. I'm writing this from another motel room. Rex is lying next to me, pressed against my leg. He hasn't left my side all night. Every few minutes he lifts his head and stares at the corner of the room, but so far, he's stayed quiet. I called a realtor this morning. The house is going on the market as soon as possible. I'll take a loss on it, I don't care, let someone else figure out what's in that corner. But here's the thing that really scares me. The thing I can't stop thinking about. If Rex hadn't been there, would I have even known something was in the house with me? How many times had it been there before, watching from that corner, while I sat unaware on my couch? And now, sitting in this motel room, I keep wondering, did it follow us? Rex just lifted his head again. He's staring at the corner. His ears are forward. I'm going to stop writing now. We need to find another motel. One with backup generators. I check every corner of every room now. You should too. And if your dog starts acting strange, even just a little strange, don't ignore it. Don't try to rationalize it. Just get out. They can see things we can't. I know that now. I just wish I didn't. The sun's setting. Rex is standing up. His hackles are rising. We need to go. Now. 3 days later. I didn't plan to add to this, but something happened that people need to know about. We've been moving from motel to motel, different part of town each night. Rex won't settle. He keeps watching the corners, keeps growling at empty spaces. Last night I ran into my neighbor Mike at a gas station. He asked why he hadn't seen me around. I told him I was having work done on the house, didn't want to sound crazy. He got quiet, asked if I'd been having any problems at the house. Said he didn't want to worry me, but he'd been meaning to talk to me about something. Turns out the previous owners of my house, the ones who sold it to me 3 years ago, they had a dog too, a big Rottweiler. Mike said they moved out suddenly one night, just packed up and left. He'd always wondered why. I asked if he knew where they moved to. He did. They're still in town. I found their address, drove there this morning. The woman answered the door. I told her I was the current owner of her old house. Her face went pale. Is it about the corner? She asked. By the fireplace. Her Rottweiler died 2 weeks after they moved out. Heart attack, the vet said. But she told me the real story. He'd fought something in that corner during a power outage. Something they couldn't see. The scratches it left in their floor were identical to the ones in mine. They'd moved 4 times since then. Every house it followed them. Every house the power would go out. Their dog would bark at corners. They'd find those same scratches, until the dog died. The scratches stopped after that. She closed the door in my face. I heard her crying inside. I'm writing this from my car. Rex is in the back seat watching the street. We're heading north. No destination in mind, just driving. The sun's going down. The gas gauge is getting low. We'll need to stop soon. Rex is growling again. I don't know if distance will help. That woman moved across town and it wasn't enough. But maybe if we go far enough. I don't know. Worth a try. If you're reading this and you have a dog and the power goes out, don't wait. Don't try to be rational about it, just run. The streetlights are flickering. We need to go. 1 week later. This is my last update. We made it to Canada. Found a cabin in the woods, miles from the nearest power line. Solar panels, battery backup. No corners in the main room. It's circular. Rex stopped growling 3 days ago. He's sleeping now. Actually sleeping. Not just dozing with one eye open. Maybe we got far enough away. Maybe whatever it was couldn't follow us here. Or maybe it's still coming. Taking its time. Enjoying the hunt. Either way, we're ready. I've got supplies. Generators. Weapons. Though I doubt they'll help. Most importantly, I've got Rex. As long as he's calm, I know we're safe. The sun's setting. The solar lights are bright and steady. Rex is still sleeping. For now, that's enough. The knocking woke me at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. 3 sharp raps on my front door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I live alone in my grandmother's old house on Maple Street, and nobody visits this late. The TV was still on, playing some infomercial about kitchen knives. My neck hurt from falling asleep in the recliner. The knocking came again. 4 raps this time, harder. I got up. My legs were stiff. The wooden floor creaked under my feet as I walked to the front door. The porch light wasn't on. Through the peephole, I could only make out a dark shape standing there. "Who is it?" I called out. "Is Sarah home?" a man's voice asked. The voice sounded normal, casual, like he was asking about the weather. Sarah was my grandmother's name. She'd been dead for 12 years. "No one by that name lives here," I said through the door. My hand rested on the deadbolt. I didn't unlock it. "Are you sure? They said they'd be here tonight." The hair on my arm stood up. Something about his tone wasn't right. Too flat, too rehearsed. "Who said that?" I asked. "They did. They told me to come here tonight. Sarah and James would be waiting." James was my grandfather's name. He died in 1989. "Look, I don't know who told you that, but you have the wrong house. Sarah and James haven't lived here in decades. They're both deceased." Silence. The shape didn't move from the porch. "That's not possible," the man said finally. "I just spoke with them yesterday. They were very clear about the time and place." My mouth went dry. The air felt colder. "I'm their grandson," I said. "I inherited this house. They're both gone. Sarah died in 2012, James in 89. You need to leave." More silence, then a soft laugh. No, that's not right at all. I have their invitation right here." I heard paper rustling. "See? Written in Sarah's own hand. Tuesday night, 11:45 p.m. Don't be late." My hands were sweating now. I wiped them on my jeans. "Show me," I said. "Hold it up to the peephole." The shape moved closer. A piece of paper pressed against the peephole lens. Even in the dark, I could see the handwriting. The loops and curves were exactly like my grandmother's. The date at the top was today's date. My stomach clenched. That was impossible. But I was looking right at it. "Where did you get that?" My voice cracked. Sarah gave it to me yesterday. At the diner on 5th Street. She was wearing her blue dress with the white flowers. James had on his gray suit, the one with the red tie. They bought me coffee and told me all about tonight. That was my grandmother's favorite dress, the one we buried her in. And my grandfather was cremated wearing that exact suit. You're lying, I said, but my voice shook. This isn't funny. Leave now, or I'm calling the police. The man sighed, a tired, disappointed sound. I was afraid you might be difficult about this. They said you might not understand, that's why they gave me this. More rustling. Then something slid under my door. A photograph. I didn't want to look at it, but I had to. I bent down, picked it up with trembling fingers. It was a Polaroid. The colors were bright and fresh, like it was taken yesterday. My grandparents sat in a booth at Eddie's Diner. My grandmother in her blue flowered dress. My grandfather in his gray suit and red tie. They were smiling at the camera. Between them sat a man I'd never seen before. Thin face, dark coat, the same shape I could see through my peephole. The date stamp on the bottom of the Polaroid was yesterday's date. My legs went weak. I stumbled back from the door. Now you see, the man said. They're waiting for us. We shouldn't keep them waiting any longer. That would be rude. The doorknob started turning. I knew I'd locked it. I'd checked twice, but it was turning anyway. I ran. Down the hallway to my bedroom, slammed the door, grabbed my phone to call 911. No signal. The front door creaked open. Slow footsteps on the wooden floor. They're here now, the man called out. His voice echoed through the house. Sarah and James just arrived. They're so happy to see you. I heard my grandmother's laugh, my grandfather's deep chuckle, the sounds of my childhood coming from my living room. The footsteps came closer, multiple sets now. Come out, dear, my grandmother's voice called, the voice I hadn't heard in 12 years. We've missed you so much. My bedroom doorknob started to turn. I backed into the corner, pressed myself against the wall. The door swung open. 3 figures stood in the doorway. The thin man in his dark coat, and my grandparents, exactly as they looked in the Polaroid, exactly as they looked the days they died. There you are, my grandmother said. She smiled. Her teeth gleamed in the darkness. We've been waiting so long for this reunion. She held out her hand. Her skin was gray. Her fingers were cold when they touched mine. Come with us, my grandfather said. We have so much to show you. The thin man stood behind them, grinning. His teeth were too sharp. Don't worry, he said. They told me you might hesitate. But once you see where we're going, you'll understand. They all do eventually. My grandmother's cold fingers tightened around my wrist. My grandfather put his hand on my shoulder. The thin man stepped forward. Close your eyes, he whispered. It's easier that way. When you open them again, everything will make sense. I tried to pull away, but their grip was too strong. The darkness pressed in around us. That's it, the thin man said. Just like that. Welcome to the family reunion. The room spun, the walls melted away. And then, I woke up in my recliner. The TV was playing infomercials. It was 3:17 a.m. My neck hurt, my mouth was dry. Just a dream, I thought. A bad dream. Then I saw the Polaroid on the coffee table, my grandparents smiling at the camera, the thin man between them. Yesterday's date stamped at the bottom, and 3 sets of footprints in the dust, leading from my front door to where I sat. I still live in that house. I have nowhere else to go. But I don't sleep in the recliner anymore. I don't answer late-night knocks. And sometimes when I walk past Eddie's Diner, I see them sitting in their usual booth. My grandmother in her blue dress, my grandfather in his gray suit, the thin man in his dark coat. They wave to me through the window. Their smiles are too wide. Their teeth are too sharp. They're waiting for me. They're patient. They have all the time in the world. One night, I know I'll give in. I'll sit down in that booth. I'll drink coffee with the dead, and then I'll understand what they've been trying to show me. But for now, I keep my doors locked. I unplug my doorbell. I close my curtains at sunset. And I try not to think about the invitation I found in my mailbox this morning. The one in my grandmother's handwriting. The one with tomorrow's date. They're getting impatient. Soon, they'll stop asking nicely. Soon, they'll stop asking at all. My phone buzzed at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was sitting at my desk reviewing spreadsheets for the quarterly report. The message popped up from an unknown number. "I'm watching you." I looked up from my computer screen. Through the office window, I saw nothing but the usual. Cars in the parking lot, a few people walking to their cars. My heart rate picked up. I switched my phone to silent and put it face down on the desk. "Probably just a wrong number," I said out loud to my empty office. The words came out shaky. The next message arrived 5 minutes later. "Nice blue tie today, James." I touched my tie. Blue silk, the one I'd put on this morning. My fingers trembled slightly against the fabric. Sweat formed under my collar. I got up and walked to the window, scanning the parking lot more carefully this time. A red sedan, 2 SUVs, a delivery truck, normal Tuesday afternoon traffic on the street beyond. No one looking up at my second-floor window. "Security," I muttered, turning away from the window. We had cameras, guards at the front desk. I was being stupid, letting this get to me. My phone lit up again. Getting nervous? I grabbed the phone and typed back, "Who is this?" The reply came instantly. "A friend, for now." I called the number. It rang once and went to voicemail. A generic automated message, no name. I saved the number as unknown and screenshot the conversation. Evidence, in case I needed it. My palms were wet. I wiped them on my pants. The rest of the afternoon dragged. I kept checking my phone, but no more messages came. By 5:30, I'd convinced myself it was just a prank. Probably some kid who'd gotten my number by mistake. The parking lot was mostly empty when I left the building. I walked fast to my car, keys gripped tight in my hand. The sound of my shoes on the pavement seemed too loud. I drove home, checking my rearview mirror more than usual. No one followed me. The streets were normal. Other commuters, a school bus, people walking dogs. Everything fine. My house looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. White 2-story in a quiet neighborhood. Grass needed cutting, mail in the box. I pulled into the garage and shut the door behind my car. Inside, I locked all the doors, checked all the windows, drew the curtains. Normal routine, I told myself. Nothing to do with those texts. I changed out of my work clothes and made dinner. Pasta with jarred sauce. The TV provided background noise while I ate. Local news, weather report, sports scores, regular Tuesday night stuff. My phone stayed quiet until 8:12 p.m. "Nice house, James, very cozy." I dropped my fork. It clattered against the plate. My hands shook as I typed, "Leave me alone or I'm calling the police." "Go ahead, what will you tell them? That someone complimented your house?" I got up and looked out the front window, pulling the curtain back just enough to see. The street was dark except for the street lights. A car drove past. Nothing unusual. Then I saw him. A man stood on the sidewalk across the street, just standing there, facing my house. The street light above him cast enough light to see he wore dark clothes. I couldn't make out his face. I let the curtain fall back and grabbed my phone. Dialed 911. My fingers slipped on the screen, wet with sweat. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone watching my house. He's been sending me threatening messages all day. He's right outside now. What's your address, sir? I gave it to her, told her about the texts. My voice cracked. Officers are on their way. Stay inside and keep your doors locked. Are you alone in the house? Yes. Stay on the line with me until they arrive. I went back to the window. The man hadn't moved, still just standing there, staring. My phone buzzed with a text. I looked at it while keeping the 911 operator on the line. Police won't help, James. This is between us. I heard sirens in the distance. The man across the street didn't react. I hear the police approaching. I told the operator. Good. They should be there any moment. The sirens got louder. Blue and red lights flashed on the houses down the street. The man still didn't move. 2 police cars pulled up, lights spinning. The man turned his head to look at them. Then he walked, didn't run, just walked, around the corner and disappeared. He's leaving, I told the operator. Going east on Oak Street. 4 officers got out of their cars. 2 went in the direction the man had gone. The other 2 came to my door. I hung up with 911 and let them in. Showed them the texts. Described the man. Tall, dark clothes, couldn't see his face. They took notes and called it in. We'll patrol the area, one officer said. Keep your doors locked. Call us if he comes back. They left. I double-checked all the locks again, set the alarm system, sat on my couch with all the lights on and jumped at every sound. At 11:45 p.m., another text. Sleep well, James. See you tomorrow. I didn't sleep. Called in sick to work the next day. Changed my phone number. Had a security company install cameras around the house. The texts stopped. No more man across the street. A week passed, then 2. I started to relax. Then yesterday I got a letter in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper with typed text. Miss me? Look outside. I did. There he was again, same spot across the street. But this time he waved. I'm writing this now from a hotel room 50 miles away. My house is for sale. I've applied for jobs in other states. My phone just buzzed. Nice hotel room, James. But you can't run from me. I turned to the window. A shadow moves across the parking lot below. He found me. This isn't over. The sound of footsteps in the hallway outside my room grows louder. They stop at my door. Someone knocks. I stare at the door handle as it slowly starts to turn. It's not locked. The door opens. And I see... Message ends here due to loss of signal. The first handprint appeared 3 weeks ago. Not a smudge or a streak. A perfect impression of a human palm and fingers pressed against my bathroom mirror. I remember the exact moment I saw it because my heart stopped for 2 full seconds. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. My pulse literally skipped as I stood there dripping wet from my shower, towel around my waist, staring at something that shouldn't exist. I live alone in apartment 4B of a converted Victorian house in Boston's Back Bay. That morning started like any other Tuesday. I woke up at 6:30, made coffee, checked emails, and jumped in the shower at 7:15 to get ready for work. The bathroom was steamy when I got out, typical for a hot shower in a small space with poor ventilation. I grabbed the hand towel from the rack and wiped a clear spot on the fogged-up mirror so I could shave. That's when I saw it. Right at eye level, a perfect handprint pressed into the condensation. Bigger than my hand. The fingers were long and thin, the palm broad. Every line and wrinkle was visible in incredible detail, like someone had pressed their hand against the glass with deliberate care. I blinked hard and wiped the mirror completely clear with my towel. The handprint disappeared. My first thought was that I was seeing things, that my eyes were playing tricks in the steam and shadows. But when I leaned in close to the mirror, I could see the faintest trace of oils on the surface, exactly where the handprint had been. Someone, or something, had touched my mirror. I checked the bathroom window, locked tight, like always. The only door was the one I'd come through, and I'd been alone in my apartment all night. My heart started beating faster as I tried to make sense of it. Maybe someone had broken in while I was sleeping. But why would they only touch my mirror and leave? And how had they gotten past my deadbolts and security system without triggering the alarm? I called in sick to work that day. Spent hours going over every inch of my apartment looking for signs of intrusion. Changed all the locks. Had the building manager check the security cameras in the hallway. Nothing unusual showed up on the footage. No one had entered or left my apartment except me. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the old building made me jerk awake. I kept getting up to check the bathroom, half expecting to find someone standing there. But the mirror stayed clear, and I was still alone. By the next morning, I'd almost convinced myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Stress can do weird things to your mind, right? I'd been working long hours at the investment firm, barely sleeping. Maybe I needed a vacation. Then it happened again, exactly 1 week later. Same routine. Shower, steam, wiping the mirror. But this time there were 2 handprints side by side. Same size and shape as before, pressed into the condensation like someone had been standing at my mirror, leaning forward with both palms against the glass. I didn't bother wiping them away this time. I grabbed my phone and took pictures, my hands shaking so bad the first few shots came out blurry. When I finally got a clear photo, I studied it closely. The prints were absolutely identical to each other, down to the smallest detail, like they'd been made by the same hand, pressed twice with microscopic precision. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. In the center of each palm was a perfect circle, about the size of a quarter. Not a normal part of human hand anatomy. The circles had distinct edges and seemed to go deep into the hand itself, like holes punched clean through the flesh. I sent the photos to my best friend Mark, trying to sound casual. "Hey, weird thing in my bathroom. What do you make of this?" His response came back quickly. "Good Photoshop, bro. Creepy." But I hadn't photoshopped anything. The handprints were real, and they were in my bathroom, and I had no explanation for how they got there. I started taking shorter showers after that, rushing through them with the bathroom door wide open. I bought a small dehumidifier to keep the mirror from fogging up. For 2 weeks, nothing happened, no more handprints. I started to relax a little, to think maybe whatever it was had moved on. Then came last night. I'd worked late, didn't get home until after midnight. I was exhausted, barely able to keep my eyes open. But I needed a shower, had to wash off the stress of a 14-hour day dealing with angry clients and falling markets. The hot water felt good, too good. I let myself relax under the spray, lost track of time. Steam filled the bathroom despite the dehumidifier's quiet hum. When I finally stepped out, the mirror was completely fogged over. I reached for the towel to wipe it clear, then froze. Something was different about the condensation. There were darker patches in the steam, areas where the moisture was thicker or disturbed. As I watched, they began to take shape. Handprints. Dozens of them, appearing one after another across the mirror's surface. Like I was watching someone, multiple someones, pressing their hands against the other side of the glass in slow motion. Each print was identical to the ones I'd seen before, complete with those perfect circular holes in the palms. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Just stood there dripping wet as the handprints continued to appear, filling every inch of the mirror's surface. The steam began to drip down the glass in rivulets, making the prints seem to shift and move in the dim bathroom light. Then I heard it, a sound like wet skin sliding against glass, coming from the mirror itself. Soft at first, then louder, rhythmic, like something was pressing against the other side over and over, trying to push through. The mirror's surface began to ripple. I don't mean it looked like it was rippling. I mean the fucking glass itself started to move like the surface of a pond in the rain. The handprints deepened, pressed further in, until they weren't just impressions in the steam anymore, but actual depressions in the mirror. I backed away until I hit the bathroom wall. The sliding sound got louder, wetter. The hands pushed deeper into the glass. I could see fingers now, three-dimensional shapes emerging from the mirror's surface like pale dough being kneaded from behind. The first hand broke through completely, stretching out into my bathroom. Long white fingers grasping at the air. The skin was smooth, almost plastic-looking, with that perfect circular hole punched through the palm. I could see through it to the bathroom wall behind. I ran. Didn't grab anything, didn't even put on clothes. Just bolted out of the bathroom, out of my apartment, into the hallway. Pounded on my neighbor's door until Mrs. Chen answered in her nightgown. Took one look at me standing there naked and dripping wet, and tried to slam the door in my face. "Please," I begged, "call the police. There's someone in my bathroom." Something in my bathroom. She must have heard the terror in my voice because she let me in, let me borrow her phone since I'd left mine behind. Let me put on her dead husband's old bathrobe while we waited for the cops to arrive. They searched my apartment thoroughly, found nothing unusual except a lot of water on the bathroom floor where I'd run out mid-shower. The mirror was completely normal. No handprints, no ripples, no holes. The cops were professional, but I could tell they thought I was either drunk or crazy. Suggested I get some sleep, see a doctor if I was still feeling anxious in the morning. I'm at Mark's place now, writing this all down while it's still fresh in my mind. He didn't ask questions when I showed up at 2 a.m., just made up his couch and handed me a beer. Said I could stay as long as I needed. But I know I have to go back to my apartment eventually. Have to face that mirror again. Because here's the thing I haven't told anyone else. When I was backing away from the bathroom last night, just before I ran, I saw something behind the hands. A face pressing against the glass like the hands had done. Smooth and white with holes where the eyes should be. Perfect circular holes, the same size as the ones in the palms. It saw me. I know it saw me. And somehow I know it's still there, waiting on the other side of my mirror. Waiting for the steam to rise again, waiting for me to come home. I've been sitting here on Mark's couch for hours now trying to figure out what to do. The sun's coming up outside his window. Soon he'll wake up and want to know if I'm feeling better, if I'm ready to go home and face whatever is happening in my bathroom. But how do I tell him that every mirror I pass now seems to ripple slightly at the edges? That I've started seeing movements out of the corner of my eye in every reflective surface? That when I used his bathroom earlier, I could have sworn I saw finger marks appearing in the chrome of his faucet? I check my phone compulsively, scrolling through the photos I took of those first handprints. They're still there, clear as day. Proof that I'm not crazy, that something impossible is happening. But with each passing hour, the images seem to change slightly. The hands press deeper into the frame. The circular holes grow larger. And in the background, in the darkest corner of the mirror's reflection, I can almost make out a face. It's getting closer. My phone buzzes. A text from my boss asking why I'm not at work. Another from my mother asking if we're still on for dinner this Sunday. Normal messages from the normal world. A world where mirrors are just mirrors and handprints are just handprints and holes are just holes. But I can't go back to that world now. Not after what I've seen. Not after what I know is waiting for me in every reflection, every pane of glass, every chrome surface and puddle of water. They're all windows now. Windows to somewhere else. And something on the other side has noticed me noticing it. Mark's starting to stir in his bedroom. Soon he'll want answers. Soon I'll have to make a decision about what to do next. But for now, I sit here on his couch, watching the sunrise and trying not to look at the blank TV screen across the room. Trying not to see the way its dark surface seems to ripple slightly, like something's pressing against it from behind. Trying not to notice the faint marks appearing in its reflection, marks that look like hands with perfect circular holes in their palms. I close my eyes, but it doesn't help. Because now I know, now I understand, that the mirrors aren't windows at all. They're doors. And I didn't just see something on the other side. I let it see me too. And it's been following me ever since, moving from reflection to reflection, getting closer each time. Waiting for the right moment, the right surface, the right combination of steam and shadow and solitude. Waiting to reach through completely and pull me back through to its side. I've been writing this for hours now, trying to get every detail down. The sun is fully up. Mark's in the shower. I can hear the water running. Steam will be filling his bathroom by now, fogging up his mirror. Any minute he'll step out, wipe away the condensation, and I have to go, have to warn him. Wait, do you hear that? That wet sliding sound like skin against glass? It's coming from his laptop screen, the one I'm typing on right now. The screen that's growing darker, rippling like water, showing marks that look like... No. I have to.